sons, he had lost them all. Certainly, this was lamentable. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Well, the issue here is that Narada Muni keeps converting the sons of uh,
Daksha.
Daksha to become brahmacharis, and every time he has more children, uh, Narada Muni convinces the kids to become brahmacharis and not never get married. Purport: the Haryasvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, were certainly well behaved, learned, and advanced, and in accordance with the order of their father, they went to perform austerities to beget good sons for their family. But Narada Muni took advantage of their good behavior and culture to properly direct them not to be involved with this material world, but to use their culture and knowledge to end their material affairs. The Haryasvas abided by the order of Narada Muni, but when news of this was brought to Prajapati Daksha, the Prajapati, instead of being happy with the actions of Narada Muni, was extremely sorrowful. Similarly, we are trying to bring as many young men as possible to the Krishna consciousness movement for their ultimate benefit. But the parents of the young men joining this movement, being very sorry, are lamenting and making counter propaganda. Of course, Prajapati Daksha did not make propaganda against Narada Muni, but later, as we shall see, Daksha cursed Narada Muni for his benevolent activities. This is the way of materialistic life. A materialistic father and mother want to engage their sons in begetting children, striving for improved economic conditions and rotting in materialistic life. They are not unhappy when their children become spoiled, useless citizens, but they lament when they join the Krishna consciousness movement to achieve the ultimate goal of life. This animosity between parents and the Krishna consciousness movement has existed since time immemorial. Even Narada Muni was condemned not to speak of others. Nevertheless, Narada Muni never gives up his mission to deliver as many fallen souls as possible. He continues playing his musical instrument, I think that's the Veena, and vibrating the transcendental sound, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Narada Muni Ki Jai. Text 24. When Prajapati Daksha was lamenting for his lost children, Lord Brahma pacified him with instructions. And thereafter Daksha begot 1,000 more children in the womb of his wife, Panchajani. This time his sons were known as the Savalasvas. Prajapati Daksha, Prajapati Daksha was so named because he was very expert in begetting children. The word Daksha means expert. First, he begot 10,000 children in the womb of his wife. And when the children were lost, when they returned home back to Godhead, he begot another set of children, known as the Savalasvas. Prajapati Daksha is very expert in begetting children, and Narada Muni is very expert in delivering all the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, the materialistic experts do not agree with the spiritual expert Narada Muni. But this does not mean that Narada Muni will give up his engagement of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Yeah, so every time Prajapati Daksha made more children, Narada Muni came and convinced them to take up the life of
Brahmachari.
brahmachari. Text 25. In accordance with their father's order to beget children, the second group of sons also went to Narayana Saras, the same place where their brothers had previously attained perfection by following the instructions of Narada. Undertaking great vows of austerity, the Savalasvas remained at that holy place. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prajapati Daksha sent his second group of sons to the same place where his previous sons had attained perfection. He did not hesitate to send his second group of sons to the same place, although they too might become victims of Narada's instructions. Victims. According to Vedic culture, one should be trained in spiritual understanding as a brahmachari before entering household life to beget children. This is the Vedic system. Thus, Prajapati Daksha sent his second group of sons for cultural improvement, despite the risk that because of the instructions of Narada, they might become as intelligent as their older brothers, meaning become brahmacharis. As a dutiful father, he did not hesitate to allow his sons to receive cultural instructions concerning the perfection of life. He depended upon them to choose whether to return home, back to Godhead, or to rot in this material world in various species of life. In all circumstances, the duty of the father is to give cultural education to his sons, who must later decide which way to go. Responsible fathers should not hinder the sons who are making cultural advancement in association with the Krishna consciousness movement. This is not a father's duty. The duty of a father is to give his son complete freedom in making his choice after becoming spiritually advanced by following the instructions of the spiritual master. Text 26. At Narayana Saras, the second group of sons performed penances in the same way as the first. They bathed in the holy water, and by its touch, all the dirty material desires in their hearts were cleansed away. They murmured mantras beginning with Omkara and underwent a severe course of austerities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Every Vedic mantra is called Brahma because each mantra is preceded by the Brahmakshara, Aum or Omkara. For example, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.8, Pranava Sarva Vedesu. In all the Vedic mantras, I am represented by Pranava or Omkara. Thus, chanting of the Vedic mantras beginning with Omkara is directly chanting of Krishna's name. There is no difference whether one chants Omkara or addresses the Lord as Krishna. The meaning is the same, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Harinama Eva Kevalam,
You recommend?
although,
I think
I'm
you'll
sorry,
skip.
but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that in this age one chant the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Although there is no difference between Hare Krishna and the Vedic mantras beginning with Omkara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the leader of the spiritual movement for this age, has recommended that one chant Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare.
Hare
Hare Ram,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Rama,
Ram
Rama
Ram,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare. Text 27 and 28. For a few months, the sons of Prajapati Daksha drank only water and ate only air, thus undergoing great austerities. They recited this mantra: Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a quote. Who is always situated in his transcendental abode. Since he is the Supreme Person, Paramahansa, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto him. End of the prayer. Purport. From these verses, it is apparent that the chanting of the Mahamantra or the Vedic mantras must be accompanied by severe austerities. In Kali Yuga, people cannot undergo severe austerities like those mentioned here, drinking only water and eating only air for many months. One cannot imitate such a process. Well, Prabhupada is very practical. But at least one must undergo some austerity by giving up four unwanted principles, namely illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Anyone can easily practice this tapasya, and then the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra will be effective without delay. Okay, there it is. That's the Krishna consciousness movement in a nutshell. One should not give up the process of austerity. If possible, one should bathe in the waters of the Ganges or Yamuna, or in the absence of the Ganges and Yamuna, one may bathe in the water of the sea. This is an item of austerity. Our Krishna consciousness movement has therefore established two very large centers, one in Vrindavana and another in Mayapur, Navadvipa. There one may bathe in the Ganges or Yamuna, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and thus become perfect and return home back to Godhead. Text number 29. O King Parikshit, Narada Muni approached the sons of Prajapati Daksha, who were engaged in tapasya to beget children, and spoke enigmatic words to them, just as he had spoken to their elder brothers. Text 30. O sons of Daksha, please hear my words of instruction attentively. You are all very affectionate to your elder brothers, the Haryasvas. Therefore, you should follow their path. Going to make them all brahmacharis. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Narada Muni encouraged Prajapati Daksha's second group of sons by awakening their natural affinity for their brothers. He urged them to follow their older brothers if they were at all affectionate toward them. Family affection is very strong, and therefore Narada Muni followed this tactic of reminding them of their family relationship with the Harivilas. Generally, the word nigama refers to the Vedas, but here nigama refers to the instructions contained in the Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Nigama kaputarur galitam phalam. The Vedic instructions are like a tree, of which Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit. Narada Muni is engaged in distributing this fruit, and therefore he instructed Vyasadeva to write this Mahapurana, Srimad Bhagavatam, for the benefit of ignorant human society. Anarthapasamam Sakshat, Bhakti Yoga, Ahoksaje, Lokasya Janato Vidvams, Chakre Satvata Samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.6. People are suffering because of ignorance and are following a wrong path for happiness. This is called anartha. These material activities will never make them happy, and therefore Narada instructed Vyasadeva to record the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva actually followed Narada and did this. Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme instruction of the Vedas. Dalitam phalam, the ripened fruit of the Vedas, is Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, we're very fortunate to have Srimad Bhagavatam and to be able to read it every day. Text 31. A brother, aware of the principles of religion, follows in the footsteps of his elder brothers. Because of being highly elevated, such pious brother gets opportunity to associate and enjoy with demigods like the Maruts, who are all affectionate to their brothers. Purport. According to their belief in various material relationships, people are promoted to various planets. Here it is said that one who is very faithful to his brothers should follow a path similar to theirs and get the opportunity for promotion to Marudloka. Narada Muni advised Prajapati Daksha's second group of sons to follow their elder brothers and be promoted to the spiritual world. Text number 32. Sukadeva Goswami continues, O best of the advanced Aryans, after saying this much to the sons of Prajapati Daksha, Narada Muni, whose merciful glance never goes in vain, left as he had planned. The sons of Daksha followed their elder brothers, not attempting to produce children. They engaged themselves in Krishna consciousness. Text 33. The Savalas took to the correct path, which is obtainable by a mode of life meant to achieve devotional service or the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like knights that have gone to the west, they have not returned even until now. Okay, text 34. In other words, they never gave up being brahmacharis. At this time, Prajapati Daksha observed many inauspicious signs, and he heard from various sources that his second group of sons, the Savalasvas, had followed the path of their elder brothers in accordance with the instructions of Narada. Text 35. When he heard that the Savalasvas had also left this world to engage in devotional service, Daksha was angry at Narada, and he almost fainted due to lamentation. When Daksha met Narada, Daksha's lips began trembling in anger, and he spoke as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Excuse me. She Vishwanatha Chakravarti, excuse me, Thakuram, comments that Narada Muni had delivered the entire family of Swayambhuva Manu, beginning with Priyavrata and Uttanapada. He had delivered Uttanapada's sons, Dhruva, and had even delivered Parsinabharti, who was engaged in fruitive activities. Nevertheless, he could not deliver Prajapati Daksha. Prajapati Daksha saw Narada before him because Narada had personally come to deliver him. Narada took the opportunity to approach Prajapati Daksha in his bereavement because the time of bereavement is a suitable time for appreciating Bhakti Yoga. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.16, four kinds of men: Artha, one who is distressed; Arthariti, one in need of money; Jijnasu, one who is inquisitive; and Jnani, a person in knowledge. Try to understand devotional service. Prajapati Daksha was in great distress because of the loss of his sons, and therefore Narada took the opportunity to instruct him regarding liberation from material bondage. Well, that's nice of him.
Mhm.
Let's see what he's going to say. Prajapati Daksha said, Alas, Narada Muni, you wear the dress of a saintly person, but you are not actually a saint. Indeed, although I am now in Grihastha life, I am a saintly person. By showing my sons the path of renunciation, you have done me an abominable injustice. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sanyasira Alpa Chidra Sarva Loke Gaya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 12.51. In society, one will find many sannyasis, vanaprasthas, grihasthas, and brahmacharis. But if all of them properly live in accordance with their duties, they are understood to be sadhus. Prajapati Daksha was certainly a sadhu because he had executed such great austerities that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, had appeared before him. Nevertheless, he had a fault-finding mentality. Whoa, too bad. Fault-finding mentality. He improperly thought Narada Muni to be a sadhu, meaning non-saintly person, because Narada had foiled his intention. Yeah, he wanted his sons to get married and have children. Desiring to train his sons to become grihastas, fully equipped with knowledge, Daksha had sent them to execute austerities by Narayana Saras. Narada Muni, however, taking advantage of their highly elevated position in austerity, instructed them to become Vaishnavas in the renounced order. This is the duty of Narada Muni and his followers. They must show everyone the path of renouncing this material world and returning home back to Godhead. Prajapati Daksha, however, could not see the exaltedness of the duties of Narada Muni performed in relation to his son. Unable to appreciate Narada Muni's behavior, Daksha accused Narada of being asadhu, meaning not a sadhu. The words Bhikshur Marga, the path of the renounced order, are very significant in this regard. Uh, yeah, it's in this verse, text 36. A sannyasi is called Tridandi Bhikshu because his duty is to beg alms from the homes of Grihastas and to give the Grihastas spiritual instruction. A sannyasi is allowed to beg from door to door, but a Grihasta cannot do so. Grihastas may earn their livelihood according to the four divisions of spiritual life. A Brahmana Grihasta may earn his livelihood by becoming a learned scholar and teaching people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of God. He may also assume the duty of worship himself. Therefore, it is said that only Brahmanas may engage in deity worship, and they may accept as prasada whatever people offer the deity. Although a Brahmana may sometimes accept charity, it is not for his personal maintenance, but for the worship of the deity. Thus, a brahmachari, a Brahmana, does not stock anything for his future use. Similarly, Kshatriyas may collect taxes from the citizens, and they must also protect the citizens, enforce rules and regulations, and maintain law and order. Vaishyas should earn their livelihood through agriculture and cow protection, and Sudras should maintain their livelihood by serving the three higher classes. Unless one becomes a Brahmana, one cannot take sannyasa. Sannyasis and brahmacharis may beg alms door to door, but a grihasta cannot. Okay. Prajapati Daksha condemned Narada Muni because Narada, as a brahmachari who could beg from door to door, had made sannyasis of Daksha's sons, who were being trained to be grihastas. Daksha was extremely angry at Narada because he thought that Narada had done him a great injustice. According to Daksha's opinion, Narada Muni had misled Daksha's inexperienced sons. Asadu Vakari Arba Anam. Daksha regarded his sons as innocent boys who had been misled when Narada showed them the renounced order of life. Because of all these considerations, Prajapa Daksha charged that Narada Muni was asadu, meaning not a real sadhu, and should not have adopted the dress of a sadhu. Sometimes a saintly person is misunderstood by grihastas, especially when he instructs their young sons to accept Krishna consciousness. Generally, a grihasta thinks that unless one enters grihasta life, he cannot properly enter the renounced order. If a young man immediately adopts the path of the renounced order in accordance with the instructions of Narada or a member of his disciplic succession, his parents become very angry.
Prabhupada experienced this.
This same phenomenon is occurring in our Krishna consciousness movement because we are instructing all young boys in the Western countries to follow the path of renunciation. We allow grihasta life, but a grihasta also follows the path of renunciation. Even a grihasta has to give up so many bad habits that his parents think his life has been practically destroyed. We allow no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no intoxication. Well, those are good things. They're just not bad. And consequently, the parents wonder how, if there are so many no's, one's life can be positive. Prabhupada is very funny. In the Western countries, especially, these four prohibited activities practically constitute the life and soul of the modern population. Yeah, they're all engaged in meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication. Therefore, parents sometimes dislike our movement. Ooh. Just as Prajapati Daksha disliked the activities of Narada and accused Narada of dishonesty. Nevertheless, although parents may be angry at us, we must perform our duty without hesitation because we are in the disciplic succession from Narada Muni. People addicted to householder life wonder how one can give up the enjoyments of grihasta life, which is a concession for sex enjoyment, simply to become a mendicant in Krishna consciousness. They do not know that the householder's concession for sex life cannot be regulated unless one accepts the life of a mendicant. The Vedic civilization therefore enjoys that at the end of one's 50th year, one must give up household life. This is compulsory. However, because modern civilization is misled, householders want to remain disciples, want to remain in family life until death. And therefore, they are suffering. In such cases, the disciples of Narada Muni advise all the members of the younger generation to join the Krishna consciousness movement immediately. There is nothing wrong in this. Okay, Prabhupada. Thank you. Text 37. Prajapati Daksha said, my sons were not at all freed from their three debts. Indeed, they did not properly consider their obligation. O Narada Muni, O personality of sinful action, you have obstructed their progress towards good fortune in this world and the next because they are still indebted to the saintly persons, the demigods, and their father. This is something that many parents have said in the past. Purport. As soon as Brahmana takes birth, he assumes three kinds of debts: debts to great saints, debts to the demigods, and debts to his father.
Mm.
The son of a Brahmana must undergo celibacy, brahmacharya, to clear his debts to the saintly persons. He must perform ritualistic ceremonies to clear his debts to the demigods, and he must beget children to become free from his debts to his father. Prajapati Daksha argued that although the renounced order is recommended for liberation, one cannot attain liberation unless he fulfills his obligations to the demigods, the saints, and his father. Since Daksha's sons had not liberated themselves from these three debts, how could Narada Muni have led them to the renounced order of life? Apparently, Prajapati Daksha did not know the final decision of the Shastras. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Devarsi Bhutapta Nirnam Pitrinam Na Kinkaro Nayam Rini Charajam Sarvatmanaya Saranam Saranyam Gato Mukundam Parihritya Kartam. Everyone is indebted to the demigods, to living entities in general, to his family and the pitas, and so on. But if one fully surrenders to Krishna, Mukunda, who can give one liberation, even if one performs even if one performs no yajna, one is freed from all debts. Even if one does not repay his debts, he is freed from all debts if he renounces the material world for the sake of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet are the shelter of everyone. This is the verdict of the Shastra. Therefore, Narada Muni was completely right in instructing the sons of Prajapati Daksha to renounce this material world immediately and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unfortunately, Prajapati Daksha, the father of the Harivilas and Savalasvas, did not understand the great service rendered by Narada Muni. Daksha therefore addressed him as Papa, the personality of sinful activities. Whoa. And Asadu, and Asadu, a non-saintly person. Since Narada Muni was a great saint and Vaishnava, he tolerated all such accusations from Prajapati Daksha. He merely performed his duty as a Vaishnava by delivering all the sons of Prajapati Daksha, enabling them to return home back to Godhead. Text number 38. Prajapati Daksha continued, thus committing violence against other living entities and yet claiming to be an associate of Lord Vishnu, you are defaming the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whoa, this is going really deep now. You needlessly created a mentality of renunciation in innocent boys. Whoa. And therefore, you are shameless and devoid of compassion. How could you travel with the personal associates of the Supreme Lord? Well, this is what mothers and fathers say about this. When their sons become brahmacharis, they get really upset. Purport. This mentality of Prajapati Daksha still continues even today. When young boys join the Krishna consciousness movement, their fathers and so-called guardians are very angry at the propounder of the Krishna consciousness movement, meaning Prabhupada, because they think that their sons have been unnecessarily induced to deprive themselves of the material enjoyments of eating, drinking, and merrymaking. Karmis, fruitive workers, think that one should fully enjoy his present life in this material world and also perform some pious activities to be promoted to the higher planetary systems for further enjoyment in the next life. A yogi, however, especially a bhakti yogi, is callous to the opinions of this material world. He is not interested in traveling to the higher planetary systems of the demigods to enjoy a long life in an advanced materialistic civilization. As stated in Prabodhananda Saraswati, Kaivalyam Narakate Tridasa Pur Akasa Pushpa Yate. For a devotee, merging into the Brahman existence is hellish, and life in the higher planetary systems of the demigods is a will-o'-the-wisp, a phantasmagoria with no real existence at all. Yeah, will-o'-the-wisp, phantasmagoria, that means that something is just temporary and of no real consequence. A pure devotee is not interested in yogic perfection, travel to higher planetary systems, or oneness with Brahman. He is interested only in rendering service to the personality of God. Since Prajapati Daksha was a karmi, he could not appreciate the great service Narada Muni had rendered to his 11,000 sons. Instead, he accused Narada of being sinful and charged that because Narada was associated with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord would also be defamed. Thus, Daksha criticized that Narada Muni was an offender to the Lord, although he was known as an associate of the Lord. Wow, this is getting heavy now. Real heavy. These are serious accusations. Text 39. All the devotees of the Lord, but you, are very kind to the conditioned soul and are eager to benefit others. Although you wear the dress of a devotee, you create enmity with people who are not your enemies, or you break friendship and create enmity between friends. Are you not ashamed of posing as a devotee while performing these abominable actions? Whoa.
This,
This is the
this is the script of Karmis.
yeah, exactly. Purport. Such are the criticisms that must be borne by the servants of Narada Muni in the disciplic succession. Through the Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to train young people to become devotees and return home back to Godhead by following rigid regulative principles. But our service is appreciated neither in India or abroad in the Western countries where we are endeavoring to spread this Krishna consciousness movement. In India, the caste brahmanas have become enemies of the Krishna consciousness movement because we elevate foreigners who are supposed to be malechas and yavanas to the position of brahmanas. We train them in austerities and penances and recognize them as brahmanas by awarding them sacred threads. Thus, the caste brahmanas of India are very displeased by our activities in the Western world. In the West, also, the parents of the young people who joined this movement have also become enemies. We have no business creating enemies. But the process is such that non-devotees will always be inimical toward us. Nevertheless, as stated in the Shastras, a devotee should be both tolerant and merciful. Devotees engaged in preaching should be prepared to be accused by ignorant persons, and yet they must be very merciful to the fallen conditioned souls. If one can execute his duty in the disciplic succession of Narada Muni, his service will surely be recognized, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.68 and 69. Ya idam paramam guyam mad bhaktesu abhidasyate bhaktim mai param kritva mam evaishyati asamsaya nachitasman manusyesu kaschit me priyakritam bhavita nachame tasmat anya priyataro bhuvim. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Let us continue preaching the message of Lord Krishna and not be afraid of enemies. Our only duty is to satisfy the Lord by this preaching, which will be accepted as service by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. We must sincerely serve the Lord and not be deterred by so-called enemies. Very nice statement. In this verse, the word Shorida Ganam, a breaker of friendship, is used. Because Narada Muni and the members of his disciplic succession disrupt friendship and family life, they are sometimes accused of being Sovida Ganam, creators of enmity between relatives. Actually, such devotees are friends of every living entity. Suridam Sarvabhutanam, but they are misunderstood to be enemies. Preaching can be a difficult, thankless task, but a preacher must follow the orders of the Supreme Lord and be unafraid of materialistic persons. Harivilas. Text number 40. Prajapati Daksha continued. If you think that simply awakening the sense of renunciation will detach one from the material world, I must say that unless full knowledge is awakened, simply changing dresses as you have done cannot possibly bring detachment. Oh boy. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prajapati Daksha was correct in stating that changing one's dress cannot detach one from this material world. The sannyasis of Kali Yuga, who change their robes from white to saffron and then think they can do whatever they like, are more abominable than materialistic grihastas. This is not recommended anywhere. Prajapati Daksha was right in pointing out this defect, but he did not know that Narada Muni had aroused the spirit of renunciation in the Haryasva and Savalasva through full knowledge. Such enlightenment, renunciation is desirable. One should enter the renounced order with full knowledge, jnana vairagya, for the perfection of life is possible for one who renounces this material world in that way. This elevated stage can be reached very easily, as supported by the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.7. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yasavaira Gyanam Chayat Ahaitakam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. If one seriously engages in devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, jnana and vairagya are automatically manifest in one's person. There is no doubt of this. Prajapati Daksha's accusation that Narada Muni had not actually delivered his sons to the platform of knowledge was not factual. All the sons of Prajapati Daksha had first been raised to the platform of jnana and had them automatically, no, all the sons of Prajapati Daksha had first been raised to the platform of jnana and had then automatically renounced this world. In summary, unless one's knowledge is awakened, renunciation cannot take place. For without elevated knowledge, one cannot give up the attachment for material enjoyment. Very correct statement. Text 41. Material enjoyment is indeed the cause of all unhappiness, but one cannot give it up unless one has personally experienced how much suffering it is. Therefore, one should be allowed to remain in so-called material enjoyment while simultaneously advancing in knowledge to experience the misery of this false material happiness. Then, without help from others, one will find material enjoyment detestable. Those whose minds are changed by others do not become as renounced as those who have personal experience. Wow, it's Prabhupada saying here that it's better to let your sons and daughters suffer sense gratification, and then they will realize that it's completely horrible, and then they'll take up the Krishna consciousness. Well, let's see. Purport. It is said that unless a woman becomes pregnant, she cannot understand the trouble of giving birth to a child. Oh, that's correct. Bandya ki bujhibe prasava vedana. The word bandya means a sterile woman. Such a woman cannot give birth to a child. How then can she perceive the pain of delivery? According to the philosophy of Prajapati Daksha, a woman should first become pregnant and then experience the pain of childhood. Then, if she is intelligent, she will not want to be pregnant again. Actually, however, this is not a fact. sex enjoyment is so strong that a woman becomes pregnant and suffers at the time of childbirth, but she becomes pregnant again despite her experience. According to Daksha's philosophy, one should become implicated in material enjoyment so that after experiencing the distress of such enjoyment, one will automatically renounce. Material nature, however, is so strong that although a man suffers at every step, he will not cease his attempts to enjoy. Trip Yamti, Neha Kripana Bahu Dukkha Paja. You see, this philosophy is bogus because basically this philosophy has said, well, unless you engage in sense gratification and illicit activities, you'll never learn that they're bad. And so, therefore, it's a good thing to go through all that misery so that you'll never do it again. That is not exactly our philosophy. That's what the karmis think. Well, yeah, you got to experience everything to be educated. Under the circumstances, unless one gets the association of a devotee like Narada Muni or his servant in the disciplic succession, one's dormant spirit of renunciation cannot be awakened. It is not a fact that because material enjoyment involves so many painful conditions, one will automatically become detached. That's the point. Yeah. Uh, if you think, well, you got to go through, you have to have a lot of sense gratification, and then you'll give it all up and become a devotee. That's not necessarily true. One needs the blessing of a devotee like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. The young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment, not because of practice, but by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants. Text 42. Although I live in household life with my wife and children, I honestly follow the Vedic injunction by engaging in fruitive activities to enjoy life without sinful reactions. I have performed all kinds of yajnas, including the Deva Yajna, Rishi Yajna, Pitri Yajna, and Nri Yajna, because these yajnas are called vratas, vows. I am known as Vrihavrata. Unfortunately, you have given me displeasure by misguiding my sons for no reason to the path of renunciation. This can be tolerated. This can be tolerated once. In other words, not twice, only once. Purport. Prajapati Daksha wanted to prove that he had been most tolerant in not having said anything when Narada Muni, for no reason, induced his 10,000 innocent sons to adopt the path of renunciation. Sometimes householders are accused of being Priyamedi, for Priyamedis are satisfied with family life without spiritual advancement. Grihastas, however, are different because although Grihastas live in householder life with their wives and children, they are eager for spiritual advancement. Wanting to prove that he had been magnanimous to Narada Muni, Prajapati Daksha stressed that when Narada had misled his first sons, Daksha had taken no action. He had been kind and tolerant. He was aggrieved, however, because Narada Muni had misled his sons for a second time. Therefore, he wanted to prove that Narayani, although dressed as a sadhu, was not actually a sadhu. He himself, he himself, although a householder, was a greater sadhu than Narada Muni. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. Are there any questions or comments? So you see, it's not a new, what you would call, a new, uh, a new experience. Parents being upset that their sons and daughters have become Krishna conscious. This has been going on since the earliest time of history. Yeah. However, uh, Prabhupada is giving us the chance to understand the well, look at the life of Prabhupada himself. He got married, he had children, right? And then at the right time, he he renounced and took up full time Krishna consciousness. He never, he actually said that he never really wanted to engage in tapasya, but he did it anyway, and look at all the good he did. So, um, therefore, uh, unless we want to, and the tapasya that we do as devotees is not this severe self denial type of tapasya. We don't, our tapasya is chanting, dancing, and feasting. That's our tapasya. uh, so that there's no misery there. It's all wonderful things to do. Chant, Hare Krishna, dance for the pleasure of Krishna, and feast on Krishna Prasad. But we do give up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. But actually, that's good. How can you have a spiritual life if you're eating meat and having intoxication and having sex? It doesn't work. But our tapasya is joyful. Chanting, dancing, feasting, and going on Sankirtan, etc. All that is joyful. It's not meditating in a dark cave and alone and not eating very much and so forth. Who wants to do that? I mean, that's like self induced misery, unnecessary misery. But on the other hand, we don't. When we become Krishna conscious, we engage in tapasya by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and having nice prasadam and preaching and so forth. So that type of tapasya is very good. Okay, so I think we're going to stop there. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo, Prabhu.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Maharaj, now
You
question.
want to take sannyas?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, now see in this chapter, see Brahma's ordered Daksha to improve the material world, but now here Narayana's the for Narayana Narada Muni is following the Narayana and Krishna's principle that everybody has to go back to Godhead. Now, Krishna only appointed Brahma to do all this material world. There is a contradiction, Maharaj. Which one is clear now? Now, who is correct in this prospect, Maharaj? And who need to follow uh, sannyasa without taking the material world?
Well, you see, to answer your question, it's very simple. What did Prabhupada do? He uh, he was a grihasta, and when the time came, uh, he took sannyas, and he began to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So we should follow Prabhupada's example. That way we don't make any mistakes. Prabhupada had 5 children. He did not leave his family uh, until his sons and daughters were married. And then he took the life of brahmachari, what type of life, and then he completely renounced everything and became a a sadhu, and started to preach and kept going on and on like that, making many devotees and building up the movement until it became a gigantic movement of Krishna consciousness. So we should follow Prabhupada's example. He was married, he had 5 children, and he did not ignore them. And he waited for them to grow up and get married. And then, when the right time came, he renounced everything and took up the life of a sadhu. So we should follow Prabhupada's example, that's all. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I have this question that in Krishna consciousness, why women are not given sannyas?
Well, because a sannyasi is a person who preaches without any fear. And sometimes he may be in very difficult situations due to the demons. So it's not good for a woman to be in a situation like that. I'll give you a practical example. There was a young devotee woman who acted as if she was a sannyasi in our movement, right? And she was preaching, and the place where she was preaching, there was a war going on. So some of the people who were engaged in the war, they came to her lecture. She was giving regular lectures. And in the lecture, she said, and all the people who have guns, they should be taken away. No more guns. So there was one man there who was a fighter. He was a captain or something. When he heard that, he got really upset because she was saying, "Put your guns down." So what did he do? He came back with a machine gun and killed her. So it was a time that there was some war going on, and she was preaching, and she got killed because she was saying you should put your guns down. And this one guy who was hearing this lecture, he said, "Wait a minute, I'm not going to put my guns down. What's this lady telling me to do?" So just came back and killed her. So that's why women should not be sannyasis and put themselves in a dangerous way. They should always be protected. But when a woman is not protected, look what can happen. They are not meant to be fighting with demons. They should be protected. They can be Krishna conscious, they can be preachers, but they should not be in the front line and start telling, gross nonsense men to put down your guns, give up your guns. So what happened was she was killed. That's something that happened in the movement. So those are real examples of, what should we do and what we should not do. So women should not be engaged without being protected in Krishna consciousness. They should be engaged, in preaching and taking care of the children and so forth, but they should not be alone. They should be protected. But here is one lady in a wartime situation was preaching to an open, forum, and she was trying to convince some warriors who came to hear her lecture to put down their guns. And when the warriors heard this, they came back and killed her. So women should be protected. They should not be permitted to put themselves in such harm's way, right? They should be, women is like a child, you have to protect the child. Women should be protected. They should not be out there in the middle of a battlefield trying to convince people to put their guns down. It's not going to work. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Maharaj, in text 34, in purport of text 36.
36. Okay, let's take a look at that. Yes, go ahead.
In the second paragraph.
Okay.
And around 6th line.
Yeah, all right.
It says, a Brahmana Grasta may earn his livelihood by becoming a learned scholar and teaching people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So generally, the Brahmanas don't take any money for teaching, right? So for how to worship Krishna. So what exactly it's saying here?
Well, here it says, a Brahmana Grihastha may earn his livelihood by becoming a learned scholar and teaching people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is your question? It says that some Brahmanas who are also married, they can earn their livelihood by becoming a learned scholar and teach people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So can they take money for
Yeah.
teaching
Yes. Yes.
about Krishna consciousness?
Yeah. If they're married, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It says here, Grihastas may earn their living according to the four divisions of spiritual life. A Brahmana Grihasta may earn his livelihood by becoming a learned scholar and teaching people in general how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He may assume the duty of worship himself. Therefore, it is said that only Brahmanas may engage in deity worship, and they may accept as prasada whatever people offer the deity. Although a Brahmana may sometimes accept charity, it is not for his personal maintenance, but for the worship of the deity. Thus, a Brahmana does not stock anything for his future use. Similarly, Kshatriyas may collect taxes. Okay, so it's saying that, the Brahmanas can collect money, but that's to be used in the service of Krishna. They should not hoard money. They should always be, always be uh, uh, depending on the mercy of Krishna, right? They shouldn't like make a big amount of money in the bank. They should use all that money in the service of Krishna and not be afraid about spending the money in the service of the Lord. But if they want to hoard money, then they're not really a Brahmana. They're just a karmi. So they should make $1 million. Prabhupada said they can make $1 million in the early day, in the morning, and spend it all before evening. They shouldn't be hoarding money at all.
Even though they are like a grasta, like Brahman grasta.
Well, you have to have some. If you're a grihasta, you are permitted to have some savings for emergencies and things like that. But if you're a grihasta, if you're a brahmachari, you shouldn't have any money in the bank. You should spend everything every day. Make $1 million in the morning and spend it all by the end of the day in the service of Krishna, of course, not spend it on such gratification. Get a new BMW and things like that,
Understood. So if someone is Brahmana and he's a brahmachari, then he should not take money for preaching and all. Only when they are Brahmanas or in Grasta family, then they can take some.
Well, people are going to insist on giving them money. It's not that you should never take any money. They can give them money, but they should use that money right away for Krishna consciousness. They shouldn't try and put all that money in the bank and like karmis and have a big bank account.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. You see how Prabhupada is educating us. Okay, so our takeaway for today is the following. Unless one gets, this is text 41 and the ends of it. So it says, where is it? under the circumstances, unless one gets the association of a devotee like Narada Muni or his servant in the disciplic succession, one's dormant spirit of renunciation cannot be awakened. So we have to have the association of a elevated, genuine devotee. Why? And it says, under the circumstance, unless one gets the association of a devotee like Narada Muni or his servant in the disciplic succession, one's dormant spirit of renunciation cannot be awakened. It is not a fact that because material enjoyment involves so many painful conditions, one will automatically become detached. One needs the blessings of a devotee like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. The young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment, not because of practice, but by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants. Okay, so it says, under the circumstance, unless one gets the association of a devotee like Narada Muni or his servant in the disciplic succession, one's dormant spirit of renunciation cannot be awakened. So we have to find a genuine devotee who is renounced and it's genuine, and then learn from him how to become Krishna conscious. It is not a fact that because material enjoyment involves so many painful conditions, one will automatically become detached. One needs the blessings of a devotee. It's not that you suffer material difficulties so that you become detached. No. One needs the blessings of a devotee like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. The young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment not because of practice, but by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants. So the point is that we don't engage in severe tapasya in order to be renounced. We follow the example of Lord Chaitanya and the Vaishnava Acharyas and engage in devotional service without severe type of tapasya. Our tapasya is chanting, dancing, and feasting, and giving up sense gratification, meat eating, gambling, and illicit sex. So, it's not suffering. It's actually being very happy because we have nice prasadam, we chant, we dance, we preach, and so forth. Whereas the Mayavadis, they want to stay alone in some cave or some place and give up everything and be very severely, let's say, engaging in tapasya. But the tapasya of a devotee is giving up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, all kinds of sinful activities, and taking great pleasure in chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, having nice prasadam, associating with devotees, going on sankirtan, preaching. So there's a big difference between what might be called the traditional idea of a renunciate who has given up everything and is living in a cave by himself and hardly eating, and that is not Krishna consciousness. The devotee can have nice prasadam, he can live in nice, simple, house, and but he should not engage in severe tapasya that is going to hurt him or stop him from engaging in devotional service. The whole idea is that our tapasya is actually engaging always in devotional service, giving up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and always engaging in devotional service to the Lord. That's our tapasya. That's the correct tapasya. The Mayavadis, they want to be alone in a cave and give up everything and just meditate. That's not what Krishna consciousness is all about. Okay, well, we'll stop right there.
Just one more question on it.
Yeah.
In this last line that you have read, it says, not because of practice, but by the mercy. So this practice means suffering, or practice means following, keep trying the regulative principles. The word practice comes in the last line.
Yeah.
So does it mean like suffering? By suffering they are learning, or just by keep practicing the regulative principles?
You see, it's understood that if you're a devotee, you have a spiritual master, and you follow the instructions of the spiritual master. But there are people that say, well, I want to do it on my own. And I don't want to have a spiritual master. I'll just go and, meditate and do things on my own.
Understood.
Well, that's nonsense. So one can renounce his attachment to the material world. Oh, wait a minute. One needs the blessings of a devotee, like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. The young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment not because of practice, but by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants. So, the Mayavadi, he will practice by sitting down in a lonely place and meditating. Right? But the devotee, he only follows the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, and he doesn't do anything that is what you would call unnecessary. In order to become detached, you have to first get the mercy of a bona fide guru. And the bona fide guru will teach the disciple how to engage in tapasya. So it says, it is not a fact that because material enjoyment involves so many painful conditions, one will automatically become detached. One needs the blessings of a devotee like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. The young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment, not because of practice, but by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants. So, you have the example of the traditional Mayavadi who goes to some, secluded place and begins to do severe types of tapasya. That is not what devotees do. The devotees always follow the instructions of a bona fide guru, and their tapasya is serving the guru with love and devotion and offering everything to please the guru and to engaging in devotional service. Right? Whereas the Mayavadi, he'll go to a place where there's nobody, and who began to meditate by himself and doesn't chant Hare Krishna. And so it's completely different. And that's why it says here, one needs the blessings of a devotee like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. Okay, so we should first please the bona fide guru, and then we can learn from the guru how to become detached from the material world. It's not that we just go to some, uh, private place and start meditating.
Mm. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Please chant Hare Krishna and be happy.
Haribol.
You don't have to live in a dark, uh, place,
Cave.
cave, and meditate. You can chant Hare Krishna and dance and have nice prasadam and preach and help other people become Krishna conscious.
Haribol.
Haribol. You see, there's major difference between genuine devotees and karmis, or let's say not karmis, but those who do yoga. It's a big, big difference between the so-called yogis and the devotees. The yogis, they say, well, you got to, you have to meditate, you have to do this, you have to do that. But they never mention the name of Krishna. They just have basically their own conception of what it means to be a devotee. But the Krishna consciousness devotees have guru, they have instructions of the guru, and that are based on the shastras, and they have friends that are practicing Krishna consciousness also. And so it's not an individual, one person meditating in a dark place. Devotees don't want to be alone. They always want to be in the association of other devotees and preaching and helping to make more devotees.